Okay, guys, let's look at question 3. It says this table shows a proportional relationship between the grams of peanuts and raisins in a bag of trail mix. It says enter the number of grams of peanuts in a bag for every 1 gram of raisin. Okay, guys, so for this example, right, it's not asking us for y divided by x, that constant of proportionality, or to find the unit rate of how many grams of raisins per gram of peanuts like we would traditionally would. But in this case, we're dividing x divided by y. And I'm going to put this in ratio form so you guys can really get an idea of what I'm talking about. So it's saying 14 grams of peanuts to 4 grams of raisins. Okay? Now the question is asking for every 1 gram of raisin, which means that this is going to the quantity of 1. So 1 gram of raisin. Okay? So you have to ask yourself, well, what can we divide 4 by in order to it to equivalent 1, or the answer or the quotient to be 1? If you guess 4 divided by 4, you are absolutely correct. So 4 divided by 4 would equal 1, and whatever you do to one side, you want to do to the other side. So now I have 14 over 4. You could simplify this before you even start doing long division, which would be 7 over 2. And then you can say, okay, 7 goes in the house, 2 goes outside the house, and it's going to be 2 going into 7 how many times? And you should say, okay, 2 could go into 7 3 times, okay? Now, if you want to, you could leave it as a fraction, which is 3 1/2 grams of peanuts. Or you could say 3.5 grams of peanuts. And of course, I'm going to write it in the blank for you guys. So it's 3 1/2 grams or 3.5 grams. Okay? Now let's look at question 4. Question 4 is saying a person operating a machine can mow 7,500 acres in half an hour. What is the rate in acres per hour that the person can mow? Write your answer in decimal form. So I'm going to refer back to the tape diagram. Like I said, guys, my goal is to show you guys multiple ways and you pick which way works best for you. But we're going to refer back to the tape diagram. So what I want you guys to do is draw a tape diagram representing 1 hour. Okay? So this is 1 hour. So you know for half an hour, which is we're going to cut it in half because it's broken into our partition into 2 pieces because 1 piece represents 1/2. We know that this is 0.75 acres or 7,500 acres. Okay? So if in half an hour, if it kept the same constant rate, correct? What do you think is going in the next tape, in the other piece of that tape diagram? If you guess, if you guess 0.75 acres or 7,500 acres, you are absolutely correct, which would be 75 plus 75, which would be carry that 1, which would be 1 1.5 acres per hour. Okay. If you would have put it in ratio form, you would have did the same thing. Which side would be a quantity of 1 and you would have divided, but when you divide fractions, you would have had to use the multiplicative inverse and so on, and you would have gotten the same answer. Okay? Now let's look at number 5. It says Betty makes pies. To make 6 pies, she uses 7 1/2 cups of flour. How many cups of flour are needed to make 1 pie? Now in this case, I'm going to use the ratio. So it's 6 pies to 7 1/2 cups of flour. So what you can do is you can turn that mixed fraction into an improper fraction, which would be 15 halves to 6 pies. Cups of flour. Okay? So you can ask yourself which side is going to a quantity of 1. Let's look at that question. It says how many cups of flour are needed to make 1 pie? So what you can say is this is 1 pie. And I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. So whenever I divide 15 halves divided by 6, even though we're not dividing by a fraction, we're still dividing a fraction. So we need to put a 1 underneath that whole number and apply the multiplicative inverse. And here we go. Now we're going to multiply going straight across, which would be 15 over 2 times 6 is 12. Now you can simplify the fraction before you put it back into its mixed fractions form. You could, and that's what I'm going to do. I know that these two numbers are both divisible by 3. And this is going to be 5 over 4. I know that 4 could go into 5 one time, and what's left over is 1. So it's going to be 1 1/4 cups of flour. All right, guys, and let me show you guys what I meant by that. 4 can go to 5 one time. And then this would be your whole number for your mixed fraction. This would be the numerator. And this would be your denominator. If you wanted to put it in decimal form, it would have been 1 25/100. Okay? So I'm going to erase some of this work, and I'll be back in the next video to go over question 6 with you guys. Okay?